Hey there, Sifu Al Perhax here, and welcome to this short video. Hey, I just want to give you a real quick tip. In fact, it was a question that somebody asked me just the other day. They said to me, how do you expect anyone to believe that you've been through all this secret training and that you've got methods that are better than someone else, right? Which is a valid question. I'd probably ask the same question. In fact, I have asked the same question to people I've trained with over the years. But let me tell you what I've done. I've done kind of over the time that I've ever learned anything in my life, I'm going to give you the number one tip. The number one thing that I've done in my life in order to get good at something is, number one, is immersion. Is that when I get interested in something, I dive in, and I've had the ability over my time to find the people that I want to train me. When I first started in martial arts, what did I do? The first thing I did was I decided what kind of martial arts did I want to study. Did I want it to be sport? Did I want it to be self-defense? Did I want it to be traditional? Was I looking for an art or a fighting program? What was it, right? So I was looking for self-defense. I was looking for something that was more non-traditional. And I was looking for something that I could learn quickly. That's what I was looking for. So what I did was I started researching, and of course this is before the internet, so I started researching into all the different martial arts. I started driving around to all of the different schools in my area. There was no jiu-jitsu schools at the time, no BJJ, none whatsoever, not in New Jersey anyway. Actually, there was one, but I wasn't aware of it. And the fact of the matter is I went to all these schools, I took training lessons with all these schools, and I started realistically studying the arts. Actually, when I take back that jiu-jitsu school, actually I went up to train with Michael Di Pasquale several times, and he was a jiu-jitsu. He did groundwork. It wasn't exactly BJJ, but it was pretty good stuff. But anyway, I immersed myself in that, and within a year, I probably had a higher skill set than most guys that had been doing the martial arts for years. And the reason being is because I started learning from many different mentors, many different coaches, many different instructors, and I wanted to learn fast. So I went to a lot of seminars where I would pick up techniques and then I'd be able to go home and hone them down. And then you know what else I did? I copied, I bought, I researched everything I could. In fact, let's take a little walk over here. This is part of my library. A lot of this library that I've had over the years, I've actually got rid of all this stuff, but these are actual notebooks that I've created, and you can see all the books that I have, and that's just a fraction of the things that I've done over the years in terms of research. And then I would find the research that I liked, and then I would find that person and have them teach me. Now, sometimes when I went to them, they were like, hey, don't bother me, I don't teach privately, but what I would do is I would figure out a way that I could be of service to that person. And at the time being in technology, I would say, hey, listen, I'll build you a website for free. It'll be worth, thousands of dollars to you. I'll show you how to get traffic or whatever. And we would hit it off in terms of a business relationship. I would trade them something for the knowledge. And so that's how I went about it, is I started learning from many different people. Same thing in business. When I first started in business, I don't have a college degree. I'm a high school graduate. I went to 2 years of college. But all of my business learning has come from books, constantly reading books, going to seminars, and plugging in with people. If I found somebody was successful, I would take them out to lunch. Even if I was broke, I'd spend my last nickel taking somebody out to lunch to learn a little tidbit, a little something, a little motivation. What do I need to do? And I remember sitting down with one man in business and I said, what do I do? I don't have a college degree. How can I separate myself from everybody else's out there? This is years ago. This is probably going back before I was even 30 years old. And he said to me, you need to differentiate yourself from everybody else that's out there. If the college kids have degrees, that's fine, but you got to get a specialized knowledge in something that when you go in on the interview, you know for a fact that you know it better than anyone else that you're competing against. And you know what? That's exactly what I did. And that's the exact same thing I did with the Chi. That's the exact same thing I did with hypnosis and mind force and psychic information, is I found the champions in those arts, in those sciences, and I learned from them. And sometimes I would take a piece from one person. And then there would be another time I would take a little piece from somebody else. And I would start to devise what worked, what didn't work. Now, it wasn't just me. It was my students. It was the people that were buying my courses. It was the people that were doing the mentoring and coaching classes with me. They would say, this works, that doesn't work. This works better than that, so let's add that. So that is probably the short answer to what you might be looking for, was how did I gain this knowledge? I was hungry. I went wherever I had to get that information within reason. Of course, I couldn't afford to go to China, couldn't afford to go to Indonesia or Japan or Russia for that matter. However, I learned from some of the best Russians, Japanese, Indonesians, Chinese, whoever could teach me. I didn't really care what the nationality was or which country they came from. I cared about the skills. And I cared about, could I learn them? And were they skills that I could transfer to others? You see, because that's the whole key to any type of esoteric skill. It's not me. It's the skill. Can I teach you a skill that then becomes your skill? Not my skill, but your skill. And I guess that's the key that I want you to embrace, is that the skills become yours after you learn them. They're no longer mine. They're no longer some ancient master from some faraway land. They become yours. And that's how you get good at something. And that's true for anything that you do in your life. So if you want to get good, now, here's the other thing, is that when I learned from people, if I didn't learn from the master, let's say, guess what? I would find a student of that master and learn from them. Now, here's what I did even more so, is if I found somebody that had trained with multiple people, let's say they trained with 10 different people. All right, so I found the people that were already learning from multiple instructors. So if I wanted to learn from 5 instructors, all their techniques, instead of having to go to each one of those people, guess what I did? I found somebody that had already trained with those 5 people and had distilled all of the best techniques from that person, and I implemented into my own system. And I know many of you are saying, well, hey, that's watering down a system. Well, let me tell you something. There's a lot of systems that are already watered down. And I've always used the concept that Bruce Lee taught, because I'm a Jeet Kune Do guy, is that you take what is useful and you discard everything else that is not useful. And I want you to do the same thing in your training. And if you do that, you're going to get massive results as well as I did. And so if you want to know how I got good at what I did, number 1, I immersed myself in it. Number 2, I found the people that I needed to find to teach me. And number 3, I did the work. I put in the time. I learned out what was working, what wasn't working. And I suggest you do the same thing. Take care.